In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, a floodgate is a player-defined unofficial term for a card or effect that restricts a player's actions. In this video, I'll give some examples of floodgates that you can use to win arguments at your local. I'll explain the various types of floodgates using this 3x3 chart. First, we'll go over Form and Function Purist. The purest form of a floodgate is a card that stays on the field and provides a continuous effect, while purest function floodgates prevent a player from taking specific actions. And one of the most infamous floodgates in competitive history is the field spell, Mystic Mine. This card prevents the player who controls the most monsters from activating monster effects and attacking. To counter this card, players had to use spell and trap cards to destroy Mystic Mine, which players complained about for a while. Next, we'll look at floodgates that are function purist and form neutral. Form neutral floodgates are non-continuous cards that will affect the rest of the turn after they resolve. Players may call this a lingering effect, but that's not a real word. A good example of a floodgate that is function purist and form neutral is Harpy's Featherstorm. By negating all of the opponent's activated monster effects for the rest of the turn, players are forced to end their turns because spell and trap cards just don't exist apparently. Rounding out the function purist column, we'll look at form radical floodgates. Form radical floodgates don't appear as continuous effects or resolved effects, but are literally anything else. For function purist and form radical, we're looking for something that prevents actions but isn't a card effect. And when I think of something that restricts actions in Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm looking at, of course, the rulebook. TCG rule says that we can only normal summon once per turn, monsters can only attack once per battle phase, and we have to quote-unquote greet our opponents at the start of the game, which implies we can't greet our opponents at any other time. The rulebook is a perfect example of a form radical floodgate. In the next column, we're going to look at function neutral floodgates. While function purist floodgates prevent actions, function neutral floodgates go a step further by skipping entire phases instead. Because if you don't have any phases, you can't take any actions in those phases. A floodgate that is form purist and function neutral is the continuous spell card Terminal World. This card forces you to play Duel Links. And if you wanted to play Duel Links, you'd be playing that game and not the TCG. So players hate this card. A floodgate that is both form and function neutral will be a phase-skipping resolved effect. And that is the quick play spell Mischief of the Time Goddess, which skips the rest of your turn, your opponent's entire turn, and then the first 3 phases of your next turn. And if that's not a floodgate, I don't know what is. Finishing up the column, we're looking for a phase-skipping thing that is literally anything else. The best example I could come up with is the recently updated Amor Factor Ping the Imagination Drake Overlord. It skips the opponent's main phase 1, but isn't a continuous or activated effect. It just happens. So it fits the bill as a form radical and function neutral floodgate. The last column is for function radical floodgates. These floodgates prevent you from playing the game full stop. After all, you can't take any actions if the game is over. Function radical floodgates are all game-winning effects, and when I think of a continuous effect that wins the game, I think of the continuous trap card, Destiny Board. Next, for form neutral and function radical, we're looking for a non-continuous card with a resolved effect that wins the game. The best example is Final Countdown, which will end the game 20 turns after it's played. Think of it like a delayed onset floodgate. And finally, for form and function radical, we're looking for a game-winning effect that is neither a continuous effect nor a resolved effect. And it's one of the most iconic cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. That's right, Exodia the Forbidden Floodgate. Honorable mention goes to a judge giving you a game loss, which is also a floodgate by this definition. Honorable mentions to other floodgates I didn't include on this chart include Vanity's Fiend, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Messenger of Peace, Droll and Lockbird, There Can Be Only One, Number 60, Dugaris the Timeless, Phantasm Spiral Assault, Invader of Darkness, Swords of Revealing Light, Battle Fader, A Faint Plan, Des Wombat, King Tiger Wanghu, Venominaga the Deity of Poisonous Snakes, Legacy of the Duelist, and of course, Floodgate Trap Hole. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.